Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Happy New Year. Welcome to webisode number 29 of the Deep Issues podcast. It's day 5295 in the search for Tim Chevelday, and this is our first Deep Issues webisode of the year 2019. I'm your host, Josh Houslander. With me, as always, Deep Issues specialists, our mastermind, Adam Hernandez, and Ed Zaharsky. What's up, guys? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Tonight's topic, we are discussing vegetarianism and veganism versus the alternatives to those things. I am not a vegetarian or a vegan. I actually eat a lot of meat, quite honestly, but Adam has been a vegetarian for many, many years, and Ed has been a vegan for not real long, but he is a full vegan, though. Also, Dorf will be joining us later as well. Dorf from the Majors Live fame, among other shows, and he is also not a vegetarian. But, Ed, how long have you been a vegan?
Little over a year. It was towards the end of 2017.
Okay. And have you been, like, full vegan that whole time, or were you, like, vegetarian for a while?
I was vegetarian for about half a year.
Okay.
That, so.
Okay. And, Adam, you are a vegetarian. How long? You've been quite a while, right?
I've been a vegetarian since I was 16 years old.
16? Are you giving that age because you don't want to tell your real age?
No, I'm 35.
Okay. So pushing 20 years.
Yeah.
More than half your life you have been a vegetarian.
Yes.
Okay. And Dorf is not with us yet.
Which
we'll
Dorf,
find out.
Yeah, Dorf, you can call in now.
I've been a vegetarian since dinner. So since about 6:45 tonight when I had 4 White Castles, which I admit I added bacon bits to. And they were delicious. They really were delicious. So do we want to wait for Dorf to get into the crux of the stuff, or do we want to jump right in?
We can jump right in. It
Okay.
doesn't matter.
Okay. Now, the thing I want to know is, I guess right off the bat, and you guys can take this wherever you want to take it, basically. But the thing I guess I want to know is this Dorf here?
Yes.
We'll let Dorf chime in. Hello?
Hello.
Dorf, is that you?
Yes, it is.
Whew, some meat eating backup. Thanks, bro.
Hey, Adam, you there?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it. I can't use that mic I brought with me yesterday because I only have the single port in and single port out. It will be an echoey nightmare if I do it that way.
Radio for two.
Sorry about that, man.
Well, I didn't. I thought about it like in the middle of the workday today. Just like, oh shit, that's not gonna work. So I gotta go with sound. Does it sound okay?
Yeah, you sound fine.
Yeah, you sound great,
Okay.
man. Hey, when's the last time you ate meat?
About 2.5 hours ago.
Okay, yeah. So you've been a vegetarian about as long as I have, then.
You didn't stop and get any Slim Jims or whatever on your way in tonight?
I didn't. I thought about it, but I just thought that would maybe be in poor taste for this episode. But I was just informing them that I did have 4 White Castles for dinner, and I did add bacon bits on top of them. Which, I don't know if you've ever done that, but...
No, dude, I've had White Castle once, and I got, super diarrhea, and so I never went back to it.
Really? Oh, God.
Yeah.
I eat White Castle, well, a lot. And I'm not even... They were the microwave White Castles. They weren't even...
Oh, you didn't go to a restaurant. Yeah. So yeah, I've never had them the frozen or microwave ones.
Okay, this is a hard pill to swallow, but I'm gonna double meme it at you. Hard pill to swallow. Microwave White Castles are actually better than regular White Castles. Changed my mind.
Oh wow. Hey, we had a change my mind moment yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Over what?
On the show.
What were you talking about?
Us last night.
Yeah, but what was your change your mind moment?
No, you told me that I was the meme guy that changed your mind or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I forgot what we were talking about.
I forgot what we were talking about, but yeah.
So we're using the same meme 2 nights in a row.
Okay. Enlighten me.
And Josh, I'm actually going to join you with a drink tonight. I've got whiskey though instead.
Oh jeez. Well, that another thing you guys do not. You never drink, right, Adam?
Is Ed there?
Ed is here.
I am here.
Yeah, Ed is here.
Oh, hey Ed.
Hey,
Is
Can
that
anybody
something
see-
that goes hand in hand with being a vegetarian?
No.
For a lot of people, or no?
No.
Not drinking.
I drink occasionally.
You drink just not
very
often, though.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering. Okay, I guess let's start with this kind of while we're kind of kicking it off. And like I said, we can take this however we want to, whatever direction it just kind of goes. Let's just kind of have a free flowing podcast tonight. But for you guys, for our two vegetarians here, and sometimes I'm going to use the word vegetarian, and I'm including.
Technically, vegans are vegetarian.
Right.
so-
They're just a little bit more. They're like
They're
vegetarian.
not mutually
plus.
exclusive terms.
But to you guys, is it a personal choice? Or, I mean, I guess the question is, and I do not mean this in a derogatory way at all, but as a vegetarian, what is your agenda?
You're basically saying, is it for health reasons or moral reasons? And the answer is yes.
For both of them.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm with him on that.
okay, so you're doing it because you believe it's healthier, but also
Dude, this is good. This is good content. Save this.
And I guess
This is good background. We should save this for the air.
We are on the air.
Dorf,
What are you
we're on the
talking-
air
Oh,
right
we're on
now, dude.
Yeah, what are you talking
Dude, what the hell? I thought you guys were telling me ahead of time.
See,
Wait,
you-
wait.
I thought you guys,
That was-
I thought you
hence-
guys were
hence the
calling me
text
ahead
message,
before
man.
we went on.
no.
Thanks. I'm embarrassed.
You should be.
Hey,
I'm sorry. Before
Read your text messages, damn it.
I did. It doesn't say anything
on air
about
meeting.
that.
Yes, we are live on air. Dorf,
Okay.
you are with us on Deep Issues number 29. Welcome to the party, pal.
and his face is about as red as his shirt.
Happy New Year.
Seriously, I'm looking through text messages. I'm like, there's nothing about when I'm calling in, whether it's pre or post air. Assholes.
But go ahead, Ed.
I'm trying to remember what I was gonna say.
We're going health reasons and more.
Health reasons and moral reasons, and I guess if you're just letting this freeform and go wherever, I think morally, if you look at our farming industry, the factory farming, and where we are today with meat, it is a sign of basically one of the worst evils that humans on this planet have and can perform. It essentially, it is such a horrible thing that we've gotten to, and people are only okay with it because they're so disconnected with exactly how our food system actually works. But the amount of pain and suffering that we inflict that we would never come close to, and we think is morally wrong to do to humans, we do to basically every other species on this planet. We're basically shitty caretakers of this planet.
And the thing is too, Ed. I mean, I'm not for hunting, but I'm not going to go out there. And I know, Josh, you're a hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go out there and and tell hunters how bad they are or anything. But I mean, Ed's right. I mean, this doesn't go hand in hand with hunting either, because at least in hunting, when you go out and you kill the animal, you kill the animal. You don't sit here and bleed it out, or you don't sit here and keep it confined in some tight quarters or anything like that.
The vast majority of hunters I know, and I know a lot, the vast majority of hunters I know not only pride themselves on making sure that the animal they're killing does not suffer at all, but they actually also hate the hunter that doesn't do that. They hate the hunter that doesn't know how to use their weapon properly, or who wounds animals, or who, does anything other than, kills the animal and uses every bit of the meat. But that's kind of a side note. So I guess, well said, Ed, for sure. So, and you can tie this in. You don't have to be done with the agenda question.
yeah.
But what is your agenda on it, and what is your end game? If you want to tie that in, I mean, do you guys think that eating meat should be illegal?
I mean, I guess that's more of a societal question. I'm not a big government guy. In fact, one of the things I wanted to talk about is how not eating meat is actually pro small government because of subsidies. But that's not for me to say. Even though I think it is morally wrong, I understand where we live, and that isn't even a realistic expectation in the near future. I think at some point you could get to that point. There would be a tipping point of if you had enough people who found it morally repugnant, then it could become illegal. And, I wouldn't necessarily be against that. I guess, how's that for an answer?
Yeah, I mean, but just the one... I think you answered it well, but you don't have to be against... You don't have to not eat meat to be against government the way the government handles it.
Correct.
I can be opposed to the way government handles something. I like, for instance, to go outside of it, to use a different example, I am opposed to the way governments enact war. But I'm not a pacifist, though. I'm not. I do think there's been just wars in our history, and that there are still just wars to this day. And that some people are fighting for a good purpose. I'm not a pacifist who just always wants to, Jesus was awesome. He likes to turn the other cheek, but I'm not him, that's his bag. I don't, I think World War II, for instance, was a very just war. Even though I don't necessarily agree with the way government handled every aspect of it, and I certainly don't agree with the way government handles every aspect of war in 2019.
Well, to Josh's point here, guys, just specifically on pacifism. If you're a pacifist, that means you're fully willing to give other people the right to commit violence on your behalf. But that has nothing to do with the debate we're having currently here tonight. So
wait. You're giving other people the right to commit violence on your behalf.
You have the ability to have. It's not that you're. I don't think I said that appropriately. you have the ability for other people to commit violence on your behalf. I hate to call it, but it's a like I don't know. I think bourgeois privilege.
I think I kind of think maybe a better way to say it, Dorf, would be say you're technically willing to allow people to commit violence against you without
reprisal.
Yeah, without defending yourself. I agree that has nothing to do with the topic at hand. The reason it was brought up because it was an analogy.
Absolutely.
I'm just making an analogy to something that people are maybe more familiar with or have a more established viewpoint on. But
okay, sorry.
Do you guys believe as vegetarians is my lifestyle immoral? I eat a lot of meat. And I hunt, and I don't like to hear that an animal is being mistreated. I actually don't. And when I hunt, I'll be honest, I'm kind of a lousy hunter, and my freezer's pretty bare. I don't have much, and I don't get to hunt as often as I do, but I do enjoy hunting, and I do always make sure that what I've killed gets eaten or used or whatever. And I like it when if you can't eat your whole deer, then give it to soup kitchens that take it, things like that. That I am a big fan of that.
So let me give my full answer. I'm going to give a quick answer of yes, but obviously I used to be just like you, so I don't really have much room to talk. It was a year and a half ago I was still eating meat. And to be honest with you, I struggled with it. I had some cognitive dissonance for quite some time as I kind of realized what I had been doing and what I had so strongly thought was right for basically my entire life was what I essentially found to be highly immoral. And it was kind of tough for me to deal with mentally and kind of the ramifications of everything that happened. So one thing that decision that I made, and maybe I'll change my mind on this, when I decided to become vegan was that you see the sort of the stereotypical vegan of, you can kind of like somebody who went to U of M, like, how do you know that somebody's a vegan? They'll tell you within 10 seconds of meeting, that sort of thing. Like, they're very outspoken
that or those who do CrossFit.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's another. And so they tend to be very outspoken, and even if I agree agree with them morally, I tend to find those people and their approach pretty annoying, because you don't win people over by basically telling them fuck you to their face. I mean, that's not the way to go about things. So I kind of made the personal decision that I would try to more so live my life as an example of what it can be, rather than to tell people that, you know, just how horrible they are. And that's not to say I'm going to say, obviously, I think it's wrong. I'm not going to change my mind just because you're sitting here in front of me. But I guess that's my sort of long-winded way of saying yes, but there's some hope for you.
This is I kind of equate this to I know a lot of Christian people are very annoyed with the born again Christians because they feel like they're constantly in your face about it, and like hey, you can, you know, it's cool, I'm with you, we're on the same side, but you can be Christian and not, like, you know, damn everyone to hell who
Well, yeah, just
who doesn't you know, agree with everything you're saying.
Just because you've learned something new doesn't mean everybody else has to know that same thing as you. It's kind of like you gotta temper your personality a little bit.
Yeah,
Adam, you want to chime in?
Well, yeah, everybody's immoral. I mean, there's no perfect person. There's nobody on this earth that's devoid of, you know, being immoral. Josh, you may be immoral for eating meat, but I'm going to be immoral for something completely different.
Liberalism.
It really doesn't.
It's too easy of a jab.
It really doesn't matter. I actually don't identify as a liberal anymore, but I'll talk about that later.
Communist, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. So I don't know. It's a question that I think will have people, you know, once Ed or I answer it, be like, oh my God, they think that all meat eaters are immoral. Well, yeah, in a way, but that doesn't make them bad people.
Because I don't think I'm immoral for eating meat. I truly don't, and that doesn't. And I'm not even trying to sell that, because I do think that people can have their choice to eat. My daughter's actually a vegetarian too. I should mention that.
1 second, Josh. Let me chime in for a second.
Go ahead.
The only reason why, I don't think you can fully be on board with having the morality thing involved, or thinking, oh, I can't imagine doing something like that to an animal, and so on and so forth, if you don't have a feeling of somebody else being immoral for doing that exact same thing. But again, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that people who eat meat are bad people.
Do you think people who eat meat are bad people, Ed?
How am I supposed to answer that?
With a yes or no.
Dude, that is such a no-win question.
Yeah, that's. See, he even recognized that.
But,
He's
I mean, it's a question
Hey,
that
Josh,
I mean,
are you sure you don't? Are you sure you're not on primetime TV hosting a quote news show? Because that's a pretty
I'm on
professional
primetime
question.
radio hosting a show.
I just gave you my answer that I thought something that you do is immoral, and I hold a different belief, and possibly the most toned down way that I possibly could answer that question, and you're trying to goad me into a follow-up.
I'm not trying to goad you in, because I'm giving you the floor, and I'm you can say, you can answer that yes or no. Adam just answered the question. I mean, I don't have that question in front of me. Adam gave that answer, so I push over. If you don't want to answer it, you don't have to.
I can answer it. So there are plenty of people in this world who have different beliefs than me, who I think are wrong, who I don't necessarily believe are bad people. I guess, what is a bad person? You'd have to define that. If somebody does one single immoral thing, does that make them a bad person? Not necessarily.
I mean, the Christian perspective would be, are they sorry for it?
But that's exactly it. What I think is highly immoral and will make people bad people is when they learn about it and decide to essentially be willfully ignorant and to look another way.
There's different aspects of morality and immorality. Obviously, somebody's going to be more immoral if they actually go out there and torture the animal and then eat it.
Sure.
But again, I mean, you can be immoral if you lie. You can be immoral if you run a red light or run a stop sign.
Well, then this begs the question. So it's immoral.
Actually, no. Cross that last part out because that's a status mentality.
It's
But
I like where your head's at, Adam.
you see my point though.
it's immoral to torture an animal. So if you pay the person who tortured that animal, is that person immoral? Does it carry over?
Look, I'm not arguing that somebody that you're not moral or that you are immoral if you eat animals.
Can I make a quick analogy on your guys' behalf?
I'm just saying that there's different levels of morality here, as a
Can I make an analogy on your guys' behalf, and you guys can tell me if you agree with it or disagree with it? Because I make this analogy a lot.
Okay.
I used to make it a lot in history discussions. When I was that's my background, was history, especially when I was in grad school and stuff. This was an analogy I made frequently, actually. Thomas Jefferson was reportedly loved by his slaves. He never beat his slaves, never whipped his slaves. He treated his slaves very well. Does that make him less evil than the person that whipped their slaves 3 times a week? Well, I would say, personally, yes. But does it make the institution of slavery any less evil? No, it doesn't. In fact, actually, he's pretty much still really just... It's really not a good thing to do to have slaves, no matter how well you treat them. And is that like an analogy you guys would say that it's wrong to eat meat no matter how well you treat them, but perhaps the guy that...
It's not just the ends, it's the how you get there.
Is that a good analogy or not? I'm just trying to...
Well, I mean, you could summarize any analogy about, a morality discussion is, I mean, you either are black and white, where it's if the one drop rule, if anything bad taints your soul, let's call it, you're irredeemable, or you could have the, it matters how you, the process matters. To like your point there, Josh, hey, if you do your damnedest to ethically harvest meat, and if you can, you don't choose to buy it if you don't harvest it yourself from people who don't follow the same practices. Does that make you a degree better in the eyes of somebody who think meat is evil, meat is murder? Probably. But I mean, at the same time, I know it's not representative of the people on this podcast that are very firm believers in. I hate to call it the one drop rule because it has very, very racist connotations. But any meat or any acknowledgement of meat at all means you're ethically and morally irredeemable. I kind of lost where I'm going with this, guys. Here,
That's all right. No, that's all right. So I guess another question, and I know I'm kind of throwing a bunch of questions out too, but Ed, you had kind of said that you can easily, and I'm paraphrasing here completely, so if you disagree with my paraphrasing, feel free to smack me down on that. But you had basically said the idea that you're not holding it against people too much who are uneducated on the way these things go down, because you were once somebody that ate meat and now you're not, and once you realized that it's bad. So I guess I get the free pass for eating those White Castles today because I didn't know yet. But now I'm having a podcast with 2 very intelligent vegetarians. And I mean that. I'm not saying that sarcastically. With 2 very intelligent vegetarians who are about to educate me in the evils of meat. So when I eat White Castle tomorrow, am I now more immoral than I was when I ate it today?
So let me first start by saying I don't expect anyone listening or in this room or remoting in to instantly step away from this, even if I give the most compelling argument, and instantly change their mind. In fact, I would fully expect that any reasonably intelligent person would have to take time to process and do their own research and kind of form their own opinion. I don't want somebody just to be a nut hugger and essentially believe whatever it is I want to say, because I think free-thinking people should essentially be able to gather their own information and make an intelligent decision. However, if you do learn exactly what is going on and you decide to be a proponent for that, yes, I believe that is immoral.
Okay. I had asked you guys a little while as it started, but we hadn't really developed the conversation as much. I had asked, should my lifestyle, the lifestyle I lead that does eat meat, and I admit to it, not only do I eat meat, I'm not saying this to be a jerk right now because this is the show, but not only do I eat meat, I eat probably more meat than the average person. I love meat. I do. I absolutely...
My bacon.
Yeah, I do. Hey, bacon is the greatest food on earth. To me, in my eyes, bacon is proof that God loves us. It is the most amazing.
I was hoping you'd go with that modified Ben Franklin quote there, Josh.
Yeah,
if not, I was going to.
Yeah, really, it's the most amazing taste on earth. I personally love it, and I hate to be that guy. It's if we're not supposed to eat animals, why are they made of meat? I do love it. I admit. And again, I'm just saying that to set the stage, not to just be a jerk. But I'd asked earlier, should my lifestyle be illegal? And if Ed doesn't answer right away, it's because we're kind of working on some microphones and stuff right now. But, but I guess it's a two-parter. Should my lifestyle be illegal? And what should the penalty be for this? In a world where it is potentially, for moral reasons, illegal to eat meat, what is the penalty for this type of thing, Because I really don't see me ever not eating meat. I really don't. And I'm not saying that to be like screw you in your argument. I'm really not saying that. I'm being honest. I really don't see me ever eating meat. And do I like to hear that, oh no, these animals were abused? No, I don't really like to hear it, but do I lose sleep over it? No, I don't. I really don't. And it's not the first time I've heard about how slaughterhouses are bad. I don't...
Well, it's not the slaughterhouses that are bad. Obviously that's where it ends at, but it's the entire life of the animal. They sit in this crowded little box, and they don't get sunlight. They get fed an unnatural diet of soy and corn, which is one of the reasons we grow so much of it in this world, is not to feed humans, but to feed animals so that we can eat. To be abused, to live basically very short lives. They're essentially tortured the entire way. Chickens don't even grow all their feathers. They live a couple months and they're killed. They get their beaks cut off. It's often very painful for these animals, and then they're killed for meat. They are abused from day one until they die. And that is how the overwhelming majority of meat is produced. It is not on some idyllic farm where the farmer's got a couple cows and chickens, and they go out there and they milk them, and and everybody's happy, and then unfortunately one day Bessie's got to go off and get killed. That's not how things work. These animals do have feelings, and maybe we don't equate them to human, but would you do that to your dog? And what makes your dog different than any of these other animals?
That's leading up to a question I'm about to ask you guys.
They all have life. They all function similarly in some way, and maybe we, in our arrogance, think that humans are the best people, the best animals on this planet, but we've done a pretty shitty job taking care of it if we think that is acceptable to continuously just grow and make these massive farms where we torture animals.
Now, there is quite a movement, though, out there for, hey, this is ethically raised chicken, or this is ethically raised...
Free range.
Yeah, free range. Yeah, that's a good
It's word. A justification so that way people like you guys, or whoever is listening to this, who says, oh, I want to eat meat, but I find it morally repugnant from the factory farming industry, so I can ease my conscience.
I'll admit, and again, I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, but it's not for me, because I'm the guy that says, I'm not paying an extra quarter for ethically raised chickens. Chicken's chicken.
So, back to your question about, if I were to eat meat and it were illegal, what should the punishment be? And I think that's kind of a bit contrived, because first off, I don't think you just flat out make something. It wouldn't work. If you made meat illegal today, people would still eat it. The culture has to change. The only way for that to work is if more and more people became vegans and vegetarians, and less meat was produced, and eventually you'd get to a tipping point where, you know what, if 50% of the people were everybody you knew was a vegetarian or vegan, and that slice of meat costs you $200, do you think you're going to eat that? You're probably not going to eat meat or much of it.
But I mean, you can still hunt though, right?
Sure, but it's almost kind of like the situation you're describing isn't even plausible or going to happen. If people stop eating meat, it's going to be through other means. If society is going to get to that point.
I think you're right, Ed. I think you're 100% right when it comes to something like that. I mean, it's not. I mean,
I don't want prohibition.
I don't want to bring up like gun laws or anything like that, but it's
okay. I think this topic lends well to analogy.
Yeah,
go feel free to.
I think in some ways it's very, very similar. Obviously, if you outlaw guns tomorrow, people are still going to have guns. They're either not going to turn them over, they're going to buy them on a black market, so on and so forth.
Or they'll 3D print them.
Or they'll 3D print them. Yeah. The only way to change this country or the world's mentality on guns is to change the culture. And I think that goes hand in hand.
To get everybody a gun.
No, but like you said, Ed, you have to change the culture and everybody's viewpoint on eating meat if anything is ever going to change and if anything's ever going to stick in that regard.
Okay, so I guess I was using the wrong terminology, and Dorf said free range. That's good. Good terminology.
Well, I mean, there's free range, cage free, but it also, it ultimately comes down to any sort of, I want to say ethical farming label, whether you see organic or, non-GMO. It all comes down to trust, because there's really no certification body for those things, and people can just really pretty much commit fraud and throw it on their labels, and there's no recourse if it's bullshit.
It's not even just fraud either, because some of them are technically correct if it's I don't know the exact definitions, but it's something like free range can be like a 6x6x6 box.
All the time. Yeah, I mean
it's not free range; it just has a bigger box.
Okay, so my question is, in regards to this, is there a potentially decent compromise buried within this, even if you don't really like the current definition of free range or the current definition of ethically treated or organic?
Josh,
is there a compromise somewhere?
The perfect compromise exists right now. You do you.
Well, Dorf, you know that I'm for that. Yeah, seriously, that I agree with that.
I know you
and
are.
that I'm totally for you do you, but that's why it's not up. You and I can't answer the question of what a decent compromise is, because we eat meat. Proudly. We've eaten meat today, so I'm asking the compromise to the other side. This is like asking the gun owner, do you agree with common sense gun laws? And I'm the gun owner that says, no, I don't.
Believe it or not, I agree with you. I don't think there should be any sort of government action taken. Because like I just said, the only way this is going to change is if people do it on their own. People can't expect somebody else to save them, especially the government. They have to do it themselves.
And Ed, to your point there, the most powerful force for change in any society is believe it or not, is societal shaming and ostracization. God, I can't talk tonight. I mean, you look at any sort of social, let's call it evolution, that you specifically here in the United States since forever. The reason things changed, the reason that like prohibition became a thing, it was because people shamed people being, shamed drunkenness enough that it caused them to pass a constitutional amendment. You had a lot of the reason that the civil rights movement gained legal steam is because lawmakers were shamed into passing stuff, or people who were against that were voted out. They were, by the powers of societal shaming. There's a lot of stigma to the word shaming and because it's very easily crossed with bullying, but at the same time, like the reason that we're very social animals as human beings, the reason that most that's a different discussion for a different time, but the reason that most people do most things isn't because they've had this deep intellectual conversation with themselves and others about, this is why I deem positive on this. This is negative. It's just because everybody else does it. And
I don't agree with you,
because there's a
Dorf.
bunch of people who are applying societal pressure for them to change. So
No, I would
ultimately, realistically, prohibition, just by a legal sense, even if there's not that societal pressure to reinforce it, is fucking useless, because there'll be a black market develop immediately for whatever you've just banned as a government. But at the same time, like, if you really want to make the abolition of meat eating your goal, you don't even need to try. It's not a effective use of resources, or you want to make anything illegal necessarily.
government's never the answer.
It's never. It's really never the answer. There's very, 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 very rare and specific circumstances where it is.
I mean, this idea that animals should be treated ethically but still eaten is not new, by the way. I mean, this is the Jewish kosher laws.
And
talk about
halal
this.
slaughter and preparation in the Muslim faith as well.
Right, absolutely. So, I mean, would you? I guess my question is there a compromise hidden somewhere in this where you could be okay with, like, I'm not going to eat meat, but I would be totally okay with 30 or 40 or 70% of the population eating meat if they weren't treating the animals so poorly?
I think it's...
I mean, I'm not even asking you to come up with the government solution to it. I'm just asking you to,
I mean, I'm happy with anything that moves the progress towards that. So, I mean, if we could do something that would get people eating half the amount of meat tomorrow, sure, I'm all for that. I mean, I'm a realist. I realize it's not going to happen overnight. So any sort of compromise that moves that in that direction, sure.
So, but that wouldn't be a compromise, though, because you're saying, and it's okay if you're saying this, but you're saying that if they made that compromise, you would keep fighting for the next push against it.
Am I really fighting for it?
Well, that's what I'm asking. If
still,
you're not, that's okay, too.
I would still deem that as an ideal.
All right. I'm going to try to make this analogy, because I know everyone here keeps making analogies about other things. And so I'm going to try to make this analogy real quick, even though I'm doing like a double analogy. I'm going to use gun control and I'm going to use abortion real quick.
Okay.
Because they're both big topics. And in the past, I have stuck up for both the Republicans and the Democrats in these things, because they say, what do you mean the Democrats won't... How evil are they that they won't just back down and not support partial birth abortion or third-term abortion? And you say to the Republicans, how can they say that everyone out there should be able to have a bazooka? Well, the reason that the Republicans and the Democrats, and that other people on any position, the reason they take such a heavy stance is because they know the other side is full of shit. The Democrats know damn well that if they say, okay, know what, you guys are right, third trimester abortion is wrong. We're down with that. We accept it. Third trimester abortion is illegal. They know that the very next day, the other side's going to fight against second trimester abortion. And that they've given up ground in their fight. So it's not a compromise. It actually isn't a compromise. It's giving up land. It's giving up, it's giving up space in a war.
Well, I get you. And I'm not going to change my personal belief just because there's a large majority of people out there who somehow think against that. And on this topic and bringing up abortion, I would like to add something that I, as a conservative pro-lifer, think that a lot of conservatives and Republicans are essentially hypocrites on, is not being vegetarian or vegan and pro-life. One thing I feel is completely congruent with my beliefs now is that I am 100% pro-life in every form.
Yeah, I mean, and that's... I see your point being made, but me as a human being, I draw a huge distinction between humans and animals. Morally, culturally, sociologically. I mean, I do. I draw a huge thing. And believe me, the very first cow I talk to that says they want cow rights and that they don't think cows should be killed, the very first chicken I talk to that says this...
Does it have to be said in English, or could it be said in a scream that makes you know that they're suffering and pain
Are
and
they
don't want to
talking?
die?
Are they talking about something else? Are they talking about a different cow?
Well, they want to live. Their own life.
Well, and so does a plant.
No. Oh, okay. That's you're making a bullshit argument.
No, I'm not. I'm not making a bullshit argument.
There is very measurable differences in plants and animals. Animals are intelligent. They might not be as intelligent as humans.
I don't grant that premise. I don't grant that
I have
premise.
trouble. The dumbest human is smarter than the smartest animal.
But they still have a level of intelligence. I'm not saying
Wait
they
a
have
second.
an IQ of 100.
Wait a second. I kind of checked out here for a second because I'm doing something else.
They're basically saying plants and animals are the same thing.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
No, wait. Hold on. Is this Ed? Is this the typical argument? Well, plants have are alive too.
Kind of.
Okay,
no. It was an argument.
That's a bullshit argument.
It was an argument to a specific.
That's not the argument we're trying to make.
No, that's not
Okay,
the argument.
what is the argument you're making?
I said that the minute cows start asking for cow rights, humans know what human rights are because we're humans and we're intelligent enough to do that. The second chickens ask for chicken rights and cows ask for cow rights and possum ask for possum rights, then
but they very clearly don't want to die. They don't want because they can't speak English. That doesn't mean that they don't want to live.
They can't
and be
speak
free.
anything.
So,
Africans don't speak English, but I know that they are human and they have human rights. Australians,
and I'm sure if you held a gun up to their head, they're gonna not want to die.
Yeah, and I believe in human rights.
Have you seen videos of slaughterhouses?
If you hold a gun up to a cow's head, it has no idea what you're doing.
Hold on, there's been cases where animals have been sorrowful and sad over the death of
elephants.
One of their
known for that.
Yeah. Dolphins,
you don't
same
need
thing.
elephants, do you?
Or what about dogs?
Even cows.
Yeah.
Just because they don't have an IQ of 100 doesn't mean they don't have intelligence. You're essentially saying
they don't have an IQ of 20.
So why don't we kill retarded people and eat them?
Because
that's
okay for one thing.
But that's
they're not intelligent though.
No, well, actually, no. Actually, Ed, if you're trying to say that cows are intelligent or chickens are intelligent,
they have an intelligence.
Then retarded people are definitely intelligent. They are far more intelligent than the most intelligent animal out there.
Some form of intelligence, depending on how you want to measure that, but they are not nothing.
I didn't say they were nothing, but
hey, Ed, I want to try and answer your question here. My thoughts on the subject, I understand where you're coming from, that yes, they have intelligence. That doesn't necessarily mean they are intelligent. Those two things are very, very, they're not the same thing. And I know you know that. But what I think Josh is trying to say, and what I'm definitely trying to say here, is that I don't assign equal value, equal footing, whether it be morally or ethically, to non-human intelligence.
First off, I never equated them as the same.
That may be well. That's where
what I'm saying is that you're giving them zero value. They do still have value.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they fill up my stomach.
But that's the thing that we're giving them zero value.
It sounds sadistic. It sounds awful.
Because
what? At the same time,
it sounds like it is.
Hear me out though. At the same time, under a different set of circumstances, I could be somebody else. I could be some other animal's meal as well. Now,
you will never be some
natural order
meal.
of biology, yada yada yada.
There are maybe a few people a year who get killed by sharks, and they don't even get eaten by them.
What about all those other animals that eat animals though? They don't care.
Okay.
I mean, those...
We don't eat those ones.
Oh, well, we might.
Generally speaking, we don't. We
generally speaking, Ed, you're kind of right about that one. Yeah, generally speaking, we don't.
We eat the most docile animals who put up the least amount of resistance.
Yeah, well, it's.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause they
I
grow.
hate to s-
I don't know.
hate to say
I've
it's
eaten some of those
sort
animals.
I hate to say it's a symbiotic relationship here, but because
What do they gain from it?
the
Torture?
prevalence of factory farming has kind of eliminated the symbiotic relationship. But when you're talking back to the beginning of agricultural practices and animal husbandry, it really was a symbiotic relationship. You took away the presence of predators and provided shelter in exchange for, we used Bessie the cow for milk, and when she dried up, we ate her.
We are far removed from that, though.
Yeah, we are.
But what
very
if we
far
weren't?
removed from that,
What if
but
we
at the
weren't?
same
What if we went
time-
back to it?
It still isn't necessary.
Okay.
In a world where you can get all of the food, we are in no shortage of food, all the nutrition you need, and even better nutrition, without having to harm another being. Why wouldn't you go that route?
I mean, is it
And
worth
here-
noting that those cows and chickens that we grow and then kill for meat, they wouldn't exist if we didn't grow them to kill them for meat.
The lust for meat is so strong, people will try to invent any argument in their head because they just absolutely just cannot let go of it. They will refuse to see the other side. And I know that's why it can't be too hard,
And
because
unfortunately,
I was like that for a long time.
At the expense of sounding like a dick, I don't care. That's
And you know what? I
that's
don't care either.
And that's fine.
It's like I said, I don't
That's
think I'm
okay.
going to change your mind.
No, I did. No, going into this, it was.
Well, we're not here necessarily to change each other's minds either. That's why we pick two people that eat meat and two people that don't. I mean,
Yeah,
we're not
obviously.
here to necessarily change anyone's minds, but
but
that's
what
why
I'm-
I'm trying to set like an agenda stage.
What
for,
I'm saying,
for
the
both sides.
problem with humanity is Dorf, that they don't care. That is the problem.
Oh, and me too. I'm not going to let Dorf take all the,
No, but
take
it
all
is.
the heat for that.
That's how you get factory
time,
farming,
Ed.
because you support something so despicable.
at the same time, Ed, let's put it this way. I only have, let's say, so much give a fuck that I can spread amongst all the different things in my life.
And I'm sure there's some other things that you give a fuck about
I'm not
that
going to
you
devote
probably don't need it.
The tiniest speck of that to this issue that we have here on the table. I'm just, call me an asshole. I'm just not going to. And
Well-
Ed, I know where you're coming from.
Well, and this is
Trust
the
me,
this
it's
is
a
the part
very-
where I think
very
it's
compelling. There's a lot of.
This is where it
I am
becomes morally
totally
wrong.
admitting the cognitive dissonance here. You are right ethically here. You are. I just, I'm going to fully admit the cognitive dissonance. I just don't care.
but that's
I won't. I actually won't even go as far as you did, Dorf. I don't really think so, because to me, if there's one person dying a lousy death on this planet, I'm not going to shed a tear for a cow.
but a lot of
just
those
not.
people.
Sorry, this is not Ed being left speechless. This is Adam fixing Ed's microphone. We definitely.
Is that Mike acting up again? I thought we fixed that yesterday.
I think Adam got it.
So
Okay.
then why don't we lead that into the health aspect? Because eating meat has clearly been shown has clearly been shown to have detrimental effects on your health. So those same people that you care so much about are suffering death and health ailments due to their meat eating.
I'm not a health or biology expert, but I know there are people out there that disagree with that. I mean, I know.
That doesn't mean they're right. I mean, you can disagree with anything.
Well, I know of several women who are vegetarians who, while they were pregnant, their doctor basically begged them to consume some meat, and they actually did it for a little while.
Do you know that meat is actually not a great source of B12? Your B12, there's one source of B12. It is from bacteria. It is not produced by animals. It is not produced by plants. So where do the animals get it? Generally, they eat things on the ground. Chickens eat
Bacteria
peck away
off
and
the
bug.
ground,
Yep,
yep.
They eat dirt. Cows, they would normally go in the field and they would eat grass. What we have today is factory farmed animals who are essentially fed a ton of corn and soy that has the shit sprayed out of it by pesticides, which oftentimes kills a lot of this bacteria. So much so that most factory farmed animals are actually given a B12 supplement. So why eat the animal and just when you can go straight to the supplement that'll cost you like $10 a year?
Hey, listen, I'm not. I told Adam and Ed off air beforehand. I'm glad that you guys have good information here to share about the health aspects of being a vegetarian. I'm not going to debate them, although I do know that a lot of people do debate them, and they're not all idiots. They're not all idiots. Those people who could debate that I'm not that guy, and I'm not pretending to be that guy. But there are people out there with intelligence who would tell you that it's healthy to eat meat. But that's neither here nor there. Adam, when you first saw me today, when we first left for the studio, what was I doing?
Smoking a cigarette.
I was smoking a cigarette.
Well,
I know that's not healthy.
Yeah,
okay, that is not healthy. So
go ahead and do that.
But why do I smoke cigarettes? Because I like it. Why do I eat meat? Because I like it. It's not. I'm not here to tell you that eating meat is
and then
healthy,
that's fine. It's just it's funny because I just going off and it's always great because I'm not saying that you do it, Josh, or Dorf does it, but it always seems like the people that are always asking the question, Ed, as far as, oh, you're a vegetarian or you're a vegan? Well, what do you do about protein? And
protein. That's like the number one.
Well, it's always the number. That's always the number one thing. But it's the person that's always asking that.
The better question should be where do you get your iron from? But
well, hold on.
Anyway.
It's always the person that's asking that question that may have like a glass of some alcoholic beverage in front of them, or the person that smokes, or the person that
exactly.
is
I have a million different bad habits that aren't healthy, but. Hey, what about this one thing over there that isn't actually an issue? But to answer your sort of comment, Dorf, is plants are a good source of iron too. I donate blood a couple times a year. I've donated blood multiple times since becoming vegan and vegetarian.
Sure.
My iron levels are fine. You get it. No, part of the problem where you get people who are anemic if you don't supplement, which, by the way, there are a lot of meat eaters who are anemic because they can't. You can be basically anemic for other reasons besides B12, but also your ability to digest it and
for genetic reasons. The real reason why people live long or die young.
But if you eat a good, intentionally balanced diet, which essentially you're not just a junk food vegan, you're going to get enough iron, you're going to get enough protein, you're going to get enough of every vitamin and mineral that you possibly need.
In doing research to prepare for this episode, Ed, there was one comment by a doctor that I read that eating a diet of only French fries is technically vegan, but you'll be very sick very quickly.
Exactly, and meat eaters love to make cases out of those people, and you know what? They're idiots for eating French fries.
Vegetarians do that from time to time as well.
Yeah, I mean, eating junk food, you can be an unintentional vegan just by sitting and eating potato chips. Doesn't mean you're actually meaning to be. It's a shitty diet. You get deficient in plenty of things.
If you're deficient, you're probably going to die at an early age.
I mean, I think we can establish pretty well off that there are smart vegetarians and ignorant vegetarians, and smart meat eaters and ignorant meat eaters. But the argument there goes with ignorant people and smart people, not with meat versus vegetarian. Because, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I've heard about this is healthy, that's healthy. I've heard that my whole life. Listen, I know people that have treated their body like crap and have lived to be 94, and I know people that have...
the old anecdote argument.
Well, hey, yeah, sorry. Listen, vegetarians have been around for a long time. If they were living to 140 or 150 or something, I would maybe think, oh, maybe there's something to this.
Oh, no, make no mistake. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're going to become a superhuman by going vegan. I do think it is a well-balanced vegan diet is the healthiest diet that you can go with, and maybe people should actually do some research into health and give a shit about their health and do some things besides that. But their health is multifactorial. I mean, it's not just what you eat, but you need exercise. You can't be stressed too much. You do have to, genetics do play in it. That you can't say that it's everything because it's just a factor, but all of these things factor into it. You could do everything perfect and then find out that, your house was built, your backyard was on a dump that had toxic
in your basement. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and come into environmental toxins that fuck you over. I mean, it's not.
Or you could have been born with a genetic, ticking time bomb, and it goes off when you're 50 and you're fucked.
Listen, guys, I'm gonna say something that you're not gonna agree with. Okay, I fully acknowledge you're not gonna agree with us. But listen, maybe I'm not the healthiest guy in the world. I'm not the most unhealthy guy either. It's not like I, weigh 400 pounds or something. Dude, look at this fine specimen of a human being. You're gonna tell me how unhealthy I am. But, I mean, listen, some people are going to say this is ignorant, okay? And that's fine. But I'm just doing me. I'm just living my life. If St. Peter and the angel Gabriel came down right now and said, listen, Josh, I'm going to hand you this card. We just talked to God. We're going to hand you this card. You are guaranteed an extra 14 years of life if you never touch another cigarette, never touch another cigar, never eat meat again, and never drink another Bud Light. We're guaranteeing you 15 extra years right now. I'm gonna probably say no thanks. Because guess what? Those years you add on to your life, they're the shitty ones. they're 80 to 95. Honestly, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm not saying that I don't want to live long. I do want to live long, but I also want to live the life I'm living. I want to enjoy my life.
You have such a fatalistic outlook. Like, it's just everything's going to turn to shit and you can't do anything to stop
I haven't met anyone that's come out of this place alive yet.
Well, nobody does,
there's one truth in life. Everybody dies.
I mean, not everybody is, in poor health when they turn 60. Some people are, not saying it's going to be the necessarily greatest years of your life, but they can still be good.
I understand that.
Good health and
my parents are 62 years old. They're in perfect health. They look great.
There are some people like that into their 80s.
My grandmother is 92 years old, still kicking, eats meat every day. Yeah. Eats donuts every day too. And I'm not saying that, like, she actually does have a terrible diet. For 20 years, her kids, my dad and his siblings were trying to get my grandma to change her diet because, oh my God, it's so bad. She's just still doing it. She's 92 years old. And at this point, it's just like, even they're like, hey, God bless her, whatever, do what you want,
But the argument you're giving is kind of like the smoker's argument, like, oh, I know somebody who smoked and they lived to be 90, and it's like, but you know what? You know how many people who died of lung cancer before that?
Yeah,
I get that. I realize that's the argument I'm making.
And for the most part,
I'm just saying, and you don't know anyway, so
yeah, but still,
I just think enjoy your life.
But still, the chances of you going out and eating a box of donuts every single day. The chances are you're going to take years off your life because
Probably,
you do that.
But if you want my grandma's phone number,
there are some. Okay, well,
I doubt she's eating a donut every single day.
Yeah,
of her life.
she's
really.
She's obviously.
I can vouch for it.
Okay, she's obviously the exception to the rule when it comes to something like that. That doesn't mean it's going to be the same for everybody else. In fact, it's probably definitely not the case for everybody
right
else.
On. I know statistics show that you are correct.
So Josh, that's kind of it's a meaningless argument though.
But is it though? Because,
yes, it is.
Because if you're that person, what's meaningless about it? But okay, listen, I want to say something else because I said
if you win the lottery, well, you're...
Well, yeah, I'm still hoping to. It's my kid's college fund. I bought 2 tickets on the way over, but. Listen, I've said plenty to piss you guys off. Now I want to say something. Oh, yes, you are. I know when you're pissed. You have the Adam pissed look.
You want us to be pissed.
No, I actually don't. I really don't. But no, I want to actually say something that's very complimentary.
Is it okay? Go ahead.
No, because I know a lot of people. Well. 4 off the top of my head that I will remain nameless, but I know several people that agree with the things you guys say about unethical treatment of animals, things like that agree with all those statements, but still eat meat. And like I said, my daughter's a vegetarian. I do everything I can to actually respect that. Try to buy food for the house that's done. When I'm cutting up, meat and cheese for a snack for the kids, I always make sure to cut up cheese first for her before I even use the knife and all that stuff so there's nothing even touching it and all that stuff. I really do my best. And I wasn't raised this way and don't really think that way, so I'm
Josh.
imperfect.
Thank you for being the person for not being the person that says, "Oh, we'll just pick it off."
No, I don't. I make sure to listen. I get I get a separate small pizza with green olives and cheese for my daughter, and the other one is brimming with dead animals. But I make sure to do that and try to do what I can to respect it. But I'm imperfect in it, for sure. But I try to do what I can. But I know a whole bunch of people that say the things you guys say about the unethical treatment of animals, but still eat meat because, hey, I like meat. So I actually really do respect you guys for taking that step and actually saying, I don't agree with you that it's that it's immoral, but I really do respect you guys a lot that you say this is immoral and I won't eat it. And the main reason is because I know you guys like the taste of meat. Especially you, Ed. I know that I've seen you eat meat in the past, and I know that was probably not super easy for you to say, I don't think this is right. I think it's immoral, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And Adam, the same. Adam's been a vegetarian ever since I've known him, but I know that you've said, like, oh, yeah, I used to like beef jerky, or I used to like bacon or something back in the day. So I know that you guys have tried it and liked it, and that you then say, no, it's wrong, and I won't do it.
There are a couple things I would say that are very difficult, especially going full vegan, because there are so many things that are made with just a teensy bit of milk or cheese or whey, or it's because it's almost like a waste product. You
can get really down, like Red 40. Technically, vegans aren't.
Okay.
That's something that you're not supposed to have.
Oh, gelatin is a big one, right?
Gelatin is one.
Well, But I mean, like, even just like you could go buy a loaf of bread and maybe it's like the last ingredient is like whey or something like that.
Yeah.
And that they're churning out a million loaves and they just put that in as filler or something. Like, it's not even affecting the taste of the bread. It doesn't even need to be there, but it's like it's not vegan anymore. But I guess one that you have to, me as being a human garbage disposal prior to this and just eating everything, all of a sudden I had to watch everything that I'm consuming and be kind of picky about it. And the other aspect is kind of social. Like, it sucks going to restaurants. There's a fucking side salad at all of them that I can eat. And, sometimes some restaurants now have like a vegan option or two.
Sure.
But also the fact that every single person in my family pretty much is a meat eater. And so, like, part of the mental dispute that I had is, well, shit, I'm married and I got kids and I know my wife's not going to do this and she's not going to like this, and like, what is this going to do to our relationship and with my kids and all that. And eventually I decided that I believed in it enough that it didn't matter either way that I was going for it. And that's actually part of the reason that I went vegetarian first instead of vegan, was just as a compromise to my wife, essentially, to keep things going when I realized, what, this is going to work and I can do it fully. That's just went full-fledged vegan. But taking that step is hard for people because everybody eats meat. And if you're the only one, you're an outsider. People like to congregate in groups. And all of a sudden you're sort of this outcast who has to do something differently than everybody.
Oh yeah, I remember that first family Thanksgiving when you're vegetarian, and I remember I took a trip to Florida right after I became vegetarian, and going to Florida and being a vegetarian as a tourist it's not an easy thing. I mean, because I think I ate salad and French fries the entire time I was there.
Yeah, you eat vegan junk food because that's the other thing.
Exactly. Junk food. Yeah, just because there was nothing else that you could eat. I mean, everything in Florida, near the beach, was fish, fish or chicken or something like that, or surf and turf.
And you don't eat fish, right? As a vegetarian?
No. But I can't.
Those are pescatarians.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I know that term is big now, and I understand the difference between a pescatarian and all that stuff.
People misuse vegetarian.
Right, but growing up, I'm almost 40 years old, and in the 80s and early 90s, it was extremely common to hear somebody say, I'm a vegetarian, but they still eat fish.
Yeah.
And sometimes chicken, too.
Yeah, that's
misuse of the term.
And that's fine, but that's... A lot of people do that. I mean, as the great philosopher Kurt Cobain told us, it's okay to eat fish because fish don't have any feelings.
Something's in the way.
But, okay, guys, I was going to save this question for last, but I feel like it's kind of maybe
Is this
appropriate.
the heaven question?
No.
Okay.
No. Is this the future of humanity? Do you guys think if things go in the right direction, 300 years from now, people won't be eating meat?
Yes.
I hope so.
Wholeheartedly, yes.
I hope so. I think it'll be better for humanity if we go that route.
For this reason, I mean, you can't possibly, if you look at just the numbers of producing meat for our ever-expanding population, it is impossible to feed the entire planet on an American diet of meat. The amount, I mean, just the amount of... So factory farming is already the most efficient way to
Hey, Ed,
grow
I'm going to
meat.
reinforce your point here. The average American diet takes 2.5 acres to support per human being to support 2.5 acres of farmland.
Yes.
The average vegan or vegetarian, I forget which diet, only takes like 0.5 acre a year. To your point, so
Yes.
it takes roughly 5 times. That factors in physical space for whether it's grazing land for your cattle and your pigs and your poultry, or warehouse space.
Soy and corn.
Plus
That's
the area to grow the corn to feed them, to grow their feed.
That is a good point, but again, that to me isn't an argument for vegetarianism per se. It's an argument against
that's an argument of
the current
efficiency.
system. This
It's
is
an argument
like
of efficiency.
I know-
It's not an argument.
I know I'm
for
like tapped an
or
analogy
against.
today, but this is like when people say they're opposed to the death penalty because death row costs twice as much as putting somebody for life in prison. See,
Yeah,
that's not a reason.
That's
not a reason
That's
to
a practicality argument.
Right. That's not a reason to oppose the death penalty. That's a reason why our current system is stupid. And that I totally understand with the vegetarians and vegans saying that your current system of eating meat is stupid.
And unsustainable.
Yeah, I mean, it's dumb and you shouldn't do it. But the idea that one human being needs 2.5 acres to feed them is ludicrous. It's just not true. It doesn't need it. I believe you. I'm not calling BS on your stat, Dorf. I believe that that's true, but it doesn't need to be true.
I think I still have it up, actually. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be true. And somebody living in a more minimalist way. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not saying that people need to that you need to completely be a vegan or a vegetarian to do this, and that the idea that our current way is unsustainable for a growing population, but that doesn't mean we have to get rid of meat altogether. I mean, I eat veal like once a year. It's a treat. You know what I mean? And if the population of Earth were to quadruple and meat became more of a treat than a daily part of your diet or something, that's not really going towards vegetarian. That's just something that has to be done to sustain.
Okay, so the source on that is a article in Quartz.com from August of 2016. It does not cite a source, so that's as far as I can go on it.
That's fine. Like I said, I wasn't discounting the source or the stat. I'm just saying that it's not necessary. I mean, it definitely is far from necessary to have 2.5 acres for each individual. It's ludicrous.
So how do you feel about, because I kind of brought this up earlier, being a small government guy, consuming something that requires lots of government subsidies?
Well, I don't like it. It doesn't require.
That's a process argument.
It.
That's not an argument for and against. Whether it's
like
omnivorism or veganism.
I don't like it, but you have to.
I didn't say it was an argument necessarily. I'm just asking how I feel.
Oh yeah,
I can't control
it. The systems of subsidies, at a philosophical level, piss me off, but I sure enjoy cheap food.
So if they were to drop them all and meat became $50, $100 a pound, would you still?
Well, it
wouldn't
be. It wouldn't be because a bullet costs 25 cents, and I'd get my own.
Okay. Well, so barring that, would you still go to McDonald's and buy off their $50 menu?
Of course not. Of course not. I rarely eat at McDonald's anyway. So.
Here's the deal.
But it wouldn't though.
I get the point you're trying to make here, but let's do economics 101 here. You've artificially removed a price floor here. Supply and demand will adjust, and there will be a incentive to increase supply, because more people can make money in the marketplace, which would it wouldn't skyrocket as high as you think. But
how do you increase supply even more, though? Are you going to just tear down every forest on the planet and grow corn there?
Yeah, which is the problem we're running into right now.
Yeah, specifically in South America. Yeah, I mean that is.
You're asking if I would pay $50 for a Big Mac, and the answer is no. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't eat meat.
$8 for a Big Mac. Big Macs fucking suck.
Yeah,
But I get your point. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dorf is further proving Ed's point. By bringing up something else of if you're going to do this and you're actually going to be able to lower the price of those goods, then you would have to cut down more force in order to make that happen.
But that would only change things like, for instance, the example you gave, like McDonald's. I mean, you could still, yes, I do go to a steakhouse maybe once or twice a year.
Those would go up too.
Well, then
you might be spending $500 on a steak there.
Well, I doubt that, but I don't know if that's what it costs. Maybe I would do it once a year. I only do it once or twice a year now. I mean, but perhaps
the meat subsidies alone, I think it's something like $38 billion. But it's not just the meat subsidies that cause the price to come down. It's the subsidies on.
It's the corn subsidies.
Yes.
It's the trucking, the gasoline subsidies.
Sure, you're asking me, a person who's on a budget and doesn't have a lot of money, if you raise the price of meat, would I still eat as much meat? And well, the answer would be no. I wouldn't.
That's an economic factor. That's not a moral decision. That's an economic decision.
If they tripled the price of meat, I venture to say I'd probably eat about a third less meat.
So it's another argument in how immoral any sort of government is that they.
Oh, for sure, dude. You don't have to sell me on the immorality of government.
That's an argument against big government.
Yeah, dude. You don't have to sell me on the immorality of government. That's where you and I line up completely. And what I'm not being sold on is the immorality of eating animals.
About anybody on this podcast here about the immorality of big government.
Yeah, no, I mean
we've done that show before.
I mean, I guess.
No.
Okay, one question before we get towards the other, I guess the wrap up topics. But are some animals worse to eat than others?
No, it's all bad.
I mean, is an animal an animal? I mean, am I worse for...
That gets back to one of those questions at the very beginning of the night. Is it, do degrees matter, or is it like, one drop of impurity means it's all bad?
But it's also kind of why people...
That's to each their own at that point.
Say it's okay to eat a cow and not their own dog.
Okay, so am I more immoral... Okay, I ate 4 White Castles today, which we've all seen a White Castle before. How much meat is really in there? I don't know. I know there's some pink slime and some other stuff, and you get 4 tiny little patties in there. So I ate 4 White Castles today. Is that just as bad as if I go on vacation to Korea next week and eat some dog?
Probably, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could
I want
boil
to answer
that.
your question. I'm gonna answer your question here too, Josh. I think it was Ed that asked it. I'm not sure.
Josh.
Which. Sorry, guys.
Josh. It was Josh.
The degree, here you may not agree with the reasoning and how I arrived to it, but my thought process on this, why wouldn't you eat your, why do you eat cows and you wouldn't eat your dog? It comes down to individual utility. What does a dog do for me versus a cow? A cow is a source of meat, and unfortunately in a apocalypse world-ending scenario, my dog would be a source of meat too. That's they call me evil, call me whatever, call me a monster. That's unfortunate, but in the current climate, the dog is I want to call him like an emotional companion.
Well, but only here in America.
And I don't get that out of cows. Cows are a food source.
But only here in America. So Dorf, as a meat eater, if you were to go, because you guys, I really do appreciate. Hang on.
You brought up Korea specifically. If somebody in Korea views dogs as a food source rather than the emotional companion like I do, to each their own, man. Go nuts.
And my question is, by the way, I think all 3 of you are doing a great job of
my dog.
Like breaking it down and showing the moralistic aspects of each part of it, but there are some cultural aspects too. I mean, Dorf, you're in vacation in Korea next week in this hypothetical situation, and you're at a stand and they're selling cheap kebabs.
I'm going to be next. Hold on, Dorf.
Hang on, just answer the question though. I mean, or don't answer the question, but at least let me ask it.
Josh, hang on. No, hold on. Hang on. One at a time. Dorf, hold on. Josh, go ahead.
Okay, so you're on vacation in Korea. You know, the old adage is when in Rome, but, you know, now you're in Korea, and you're at a stand, and they're selling some delicious-looking barbecue kebabs on the side of the road, which they do. And you know it might be dog. Are you going to partake? Or are you against that because of your own cultural feelings about your own dog here at home? Or, I mean, would you... Or is it when in Rome? Hey, I'll try dog. I'm in Korea. Or you're in a restaurant in China, and cat is a potential
there's very
option.
few things that I won't try at least once.
Wait a second. Hold on, Dorf. Are you asking that question to Ed and I? If we're in another country, we're going to try...
No. I already know you guys don't. No, I'm asking it to Dorf.
know
Dorf
your
as a
answer.
meat eater.
Okay.
No, I know you guys won't.
I was going to say.
No, I know you guys won't. The question I was asking to you to set it up was...
It doesn't count if you're in another zip code.
No. It's not cheating, right? No, the question I was asking to you to start, Adam, to you and Ed, was, is the eating of certain animals worse?
Sorry.
You know, I mean, I know you won't eat any, but is somebody who eats a dog worse than somebody that eats a chicken?
Okay.
But for Dorf, who does eat meat, if you're in Korea, and someone says, hey, try this, man, it's delicious. You gonna eat some dog?
All right, Dorf, go ahead.
Probably. There's very few things in this world, and it'll be for even more, different personal reasons that I won't try at least once. There's a lot of stuff that I won't partake in. Like right now, like I find bananas grotesque because like I can't stand the smell, taste, texture, all of it.
You just
It
don't want your
make
friends
me
to see
gag.
you eating them.
Like,
They'll
ugh,
take a picture.
ugh.
Dorf eats a good
But-
banana.
Dude, I haven't had a banana in
You can go for the
probably 20
plantain, I
years.
think. You got the skills.
It's just like the smell, the texture, the taste, the. Ugh. But to that point, Josh, to your point, Josh, to answer your question, I probably would.
Okay. By the way,
would
so I can be clear,
would
I actually don't
really
have a point.
to do some soul searching at the immediate time on proposition if I knew what I was consuming? Probably. Do I eat pretty much anything without knowing at least a general picture of what's in it? Yeah, I don't partake without knowing what's going down the hatch. Now, do I know what the anti-caking agent is in this snack food I've eaten? Do I know really what that is? No, but do I know the primary ingredients of being corn, rice, and whatever?
Did you know
Yeah,
that
probably.
on that note, hamburger has often been found to be tainted with human? That
Yeah. Oh yeah.
people lose hands and limbs.
Meat
and
packing is disgusting, man. Don't. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna stay.
You've
blah, blah,
probably
blah,
eaten.
blah,
In fact,
blah,
I can
blah.
guarantee you've eaten human in your life.
Yeah, and I don't doubt it. And you know what? It's one of those. I'm gonna keep my head in the sand and not think about that.
All right.
But you're right.
Would you, Josh? Would you eat dog?
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah.
Would you
I
eat
would.
dog here?
Probably not. I mean, it's illegal for one
Would-
thing.
would
So,
it-
I
Would you eat an unintelligent human?
no.
Would you eat a chimpanzee?
But I've been very clear about my. Yeah, I believe humans are.
Well,
Where am
Josh-
I?
so
Am I? Did someone say, "Hey, dude, I decided to be a sociopath today. I'm going to kill my pet chimp. Want to come over and have dinner?" I'm probably going to decline that invitation.
No. What
But
if you're?
am I in?
What if you're a place that serves exotic animals?
Yes.
So
What if you're in Temple of Doom and they tell you to chill on a monkey brain? Do you
Yeah,
do it?
I'm down.
What
As,
if
as long as they're not poison like the dates. I mean, I'm.
what if they have a brain dead human that was then just served?
No, it's human rights.
But they're dead.
I'm a human. I'm not
They're-
a cannibal.
They're dead though.
I'm not a cannibal. I don't eat human.
Okay.
That's.
Yeah, and to kind of your point there, believe in current status quo, there's no way in hell to like. I'm a team Josh here. No way in hell I knowingly will consume human beings.
Does it?
But you know that it ends up in hamburger
End of
meat.
the world scenario where it's eat the guy
You're
across from
contradicting
me or
yourself.
die. The survival instinct is stronger than the disgust reflex. So end of the world scenario.
The
I would like to
idea
think I
that
would be able to do
the
that.
idea that a couple times a year somebody loses a fingertip and it goes into the grinder. If you want me to tell you that I lose sleep over that, I'd be lying. I really don't
So
care.
how much human? So you'll eat a fingertip. Would you eat the entire finger?
Well, does it still taste?
No, I'm trying
does
to
it
see
still
where-
taste like?
where-
Does it
where-
still taste like beef?
Where do you draw the line between fingertip and full-fledged brain-dead human in consuming them?
It comes down to whether I did it on knowingly or
Wait,
not.
I mean,
The situation.
But you know that it's
hypothetical.
in the hamburger, so you knowingly do it.
I know that there's a extremely small probability that it's in the hamburger.
The person that made your
definitely know it's not
tofu
for certain.
The person that made your tofu probably lost some dead skin cells in there, and you ate them.
I generally don't eat tofu.
Okay, well, whatever you eat.
You get the point.
Whatever
Whoever
you
prepared
eat.
your salad had some skin in there.
Right. So what's the difference?
There's a huge difference between dead skin cells and a piece of a finger.
But okay, Adam, you say that, and I agree. But Ed's trying to make the correlation that me eating something that may have part of one fingertip from one person that lost it is the same as me eating somebody's arm or eating a human. So me making the correlation from dead skin cells to lost a fingertip.
What if it tasted like hamburger and you couldn't tell the difference?
Did a person die?
No, they just cut their arm off and they're alive. This is like Walking Dead style.
Sure, yeah, I'm down. Whatever. Am I okay? Now I'm on the plane from the Alive movie in Argentina. Yeah, I'm eating you.
If I were to sever my own arm and cook it up for you, you would eat it.
I'd rather sever your arm myself.
If I allowed to, I want to make sure I don't bleed out because you wouldn't eat me if I die.
No, this is no. I mean, you're not putting me on the Alive plane in Argentina or wherever that crashed from that old movie. And yeah, I'm eating the people. Whatever. Yeah, sure. Well, this is fine. I have no problem with it. Are you going to be the one that starves to death if we crash in a plane in the Alps somewhere in Argentina and there's some cows in the back?
I'm not going to eat human.
But would you eat the cow? The cow that died in the plane crash? Or, even worse yet, they didn't die in the plane crash. But some people are like, hey, there was a cow on board. So we're going to eat it, add you down. Are you going to starve to death?
So first off, why is there a cow in this airplane?
Okay, maybe there's a dog. There'd be dogs, right? There'd be cats in the back. And there are other airplanes other than, commercial flights. You're flying over the Alps and you just crash. Maybe there's a cow on board.
I can't tell you one way or the other for certain because I'm not in that situation. Maybe I would eat something.
It's a very good answer to my ridiculous question.
The world of survival.
Kind of like the one I was giving to your ridiculous question.
Chances are I would not eat for quite some time before it got to that point.
Okay, so you'll be the first human that gets eaten after we all, feed off the cow.
Probably.
I admire your ability to take a stand.
I think that's the cue to wrap things up.
Okay, so yeah, definitely. Okay. I guess this is it. You guys have made your points very well today, and most of the questions I asked, Dorf was trying to say, and he did a very good job of it, saying, hey, this is the point I'm trying to make or whatever. Most of the questions I asked, I wasn't trying to make a point at all. I was asking simply out of curiosity. Because I guess my final question is, I disagree with you guys. But aside from just disagreeing, I don't really care. Like, really, I think you guys have the right. I respect you for taking a stand on something. I truly do. And I think you have every right to... I mean, if all your research, it turns out it's wrong, and tomorrow they say, no, we're wrong about that. I'm not saying this, but we're wrong about that. You actually have to eat meat to stay healthy. And you guys still just said, well, no, I don't eat meat. It's immoral. I already told you it's immoral. That's why I don't eat it. That's cool. I really do respect that. And I disagree. I don't care. I think you guys have the right to do this. Should I be made to? Should I be made to care? Should I be made to agree? I guess is my question. I guess that's where it takes a stand. Can we just really? I think what you guys do is fine. I have no desire to more for me. Really, I don't care that you guys don't want to eat meat. It's cool with me.
I think I already answered this. No, nobody should make you do this, but for your own sake, I hope you come to the realization.
Is this? Would you agree with that, Adam?
Absolutely.
Okay, and let's go off the assumption, because it's a pretty easy one. I'm probably never going to stop eating meat. I think it's pretty safe to say that I would be one of the last people ever to go vegetarian. So, I mean, can we still be friends? I mean, are we?
Sure. So you've been driving the ship and asking most of the questions.
Sure.
What is it? Why do you definitively come to the conclusion that you could never give up meat? What is it that's driving you to eat?
Because I love it.
Just because it tastes so good.
Yeah,
taste
I love
is the only thing. So if you lost your tongue, would you still eat meat?
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably.
But you can't taste it anymore.
So what is your reason for that's the only way to. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you don't have any taste buds.
Yeah, I lost my tongue. I really hope I never lose my tongue. So,
you smoke, so you might get mouth cancer.
I mean,
okay. What if you're 60 years old and you lose your tongue? Are you going to say, okay, I'm done eating meat because I can't taste it anymore?
I'm not going to say I'm done eating meat. If I no longer enjoy meat, I probably won't eat it. But I'm not going to say, but now that I don't have a tongue, I won't eat meat. I still enjoy a lot of things you enjoy without using your tongue. I mean,
you said when Ed asked Josh though, when Ed asked you why you think you'll never eat meat or why you will never give up meat, is you said first thing was because it tastes good.
Yeah, okay. That was my first answer. That was my first answer, but I'm
assuming that's the top answer too.
It is. It's definitely the top answer, but at the same time, I enjoy eating meat. I wouldn't stop enjoying hunting because I lost my tongue.
So what thrill do you get out of hunting?
The thrill of hunting. I mean, I do enjoy it, you know.
The masculine discharge.
Yeah, the tranquility.
So is compassion not masculine?
I didn't say that, but I don't.
No, I was kind of directing that at Dorf.
I believe compassion.
Answer your question.
If
you look at the psychological research, that would be qualified as a feminine trait.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that, but I don't view it as I don't view hunting as uncompassionate at all. I really don't. I mean, not for a second. I love deer. One of my favorite animals. I also love to hunt them. You know, I mean,
okay.
That's.
I guess I would say that in a world that makes it extremely easy to support the slaughter of animals, it takes more compassion to go against that than it does to go with it.
I think it takes an ideology. It takes an idea. I don't know that it takes compassion. I mean, if you want to,
it takes certainly more masculinity to be strong against something that is completely tilted in your face against you.
Listen, I'm not somebody that is going to be offended by somebody saying I'm not masculine because I like to hunt.
This is more.
I mean, this is like Bill Maher telling Ted Nugent that he must have a small penis because he likes guns. Listen, if somebody wants to think I'm incompassionate because I hunt, or I have a small dick because I like guns, go and think that. I don't care. I do what I do. I don't, I mean, that's not, I'm not going to let a stereotype lump that in. I think I'm a compassionate person. I do. But if you think I'm not compassionate because I eat meat or I enjoy hunting, then that's your right to think that.
The definition of compassion: sympathetic pity and concern for the suffering or misfortune of others. Who could be more misfortunate than all of these animals who are tortured?
Others are humans.
So others are only humans. So that's not what the definition says, though.
That's my definition of others.
Okay, so we have
others are humans for sure.
Okay.
No doubt about that in my mind.
It comes down to, I think you could summarize this whole conversation here as the meat. Let's go team meat doesn't prescribe human characteristics, human value to non-human things, and whereas let's go team veggie does. And it's one of those. I quite honestly, I don't think that's a bridge that most people will be able to cross. I don't think you'll be able to cross from team meat to team veggie if you don't prescribe to that compassionate stance to non-human things. And hell, there's plenty of people that are, you could call it on team meat that don't give a shit about other human beings either. Let alone the plight of other species. And quite honestly, guys, I think if you wanted to summarize my my stance on this whole thing here, and kind of in summation, is I don't assign equal value to non-human things. I just don't. And I people have tried. To convince me otherwise, and I honestly, I'm not to knock against you guys. I haven't heard anything here tonight that's going to convince me to change my mind.
I actually think that a moral problem with our current society, with our current society, our current culture, is that people do not value humans above animals. I think people. I think a solid question. This is a philosophical question that I didn't raise. Would you, if you could only save one from dying, would you save your pet or save a stranger?
Believe it or not, that question's been asked in national polling, and it's more people are likely to save
and
their
I
pet
would
than
save a stranger. I would save a stranger because a human life does matter more to me than any animal on this planet, even one that I have an emotional attachment to. But that's just me. There isn't necessarily a wrong answer to that question.
So you think that is a problem with humanity, is that people think that way?
I think that people value...
But they clearly don't, because everybody eats meat, and the way animals
not
are...
everybody eats meat.
In this country, most people eat meat.
2/3 of the people in this room don't eat meat. So you said that a lot. That vegetarians are growing.
Sample size issue.
Okay, there are a lot of people who eat meat, and very clearly, those are not the people who value animals over humans.
Oh, I don't know that that's true. I know people who eat a lot of meat and are obsessed with their pets.
I really encourage you to look this up. I believe it was Pew who actually did this exact poll, and the vast majority of people in the United States would save their pet over a stranger.
But your pet is not animals as a whole, so you care about one specific, which in that case it's actually just selfish because you have personal attachment to that. It's not actually compassion or caring for others, where if you're consuming meat, you're supporting an entire industry that just completely abuses them. You clearly don't care about animals over other humans.
Yeah, it's a I don't know. It's a bad analogy. It's a bad question to ask, because usually if you're stricken with a situation of having to choose one over the other, I mean, it's
not realistic.
No, it's not.
No, I think that's why it's a philosophical question.
Well, it's like if you were stuck on a stranded island, like, and there was just a cow and are you going to kill it and eat it? Like, okay, so it's never going to happen, so I don't have to worry about it. Sure, I'll eat the cow because.
Coming from the guy who just asked what degree of human is it okay if it falls into the vat of tens and millions of thousands of pounds of meat, that I'm supposed to be bothered.
Hey, if you're going to sit here and ask me ridiculous questions...
Hey, that's a philosophical question. That's a philosophical question. So I'm just setting the stage that ridiculous questions have been asked tonight, and they weren't all by me.
But legitimately, you can test meat and find human in it. It's not like this is... I mean, this does happen.
Yeah, no, and you test peanut butter and you find bugs. It doesn't matter to me.
But this is different than the plane crashing in the Alps and you eating the cow that was somehow on board. Like, it's like a legit situation versus something that is 100%
Hey man,
contrived.
you have obviously never.
Yeah, if somebody loses a finger,
airline.
if somebody loses a couple fingers in the tens of thousands of pounds of meat, I don't care. I don't care.
Okay. I thought you cared about the humans though.
I do. That's a bummer. You lost your hand, so I'm gonna throw out a bunch of meat. That'd be mean to those animals, wouldn't it? And I just wasted a bunch of meat because some dude's finger got.
I think the mean part was already performed, so
probably yeah. If it doesn't matter, then am I bad for eating the meat?
Well, because you support the future animals being tortured then when you do that.
Okay. And that's fine. Real quick, one last question. If killing animals, because this is a question I've raised before, because I'm weird about this, I don't really like pets. If killing, and it's not because I hate animals, but you guys probably think I do hate animals because I eat them, but whatever.
You saw your house stink.
Right. But if eating animals is akin to murder, then is keeping animals as pets akin to slavery?
Yeah, it's a good argument to not having pets.
You could say that's PETA's argument.
I don't think is as clear cut, because definitely there are cases where having pets is not good for the animal and their natural habitat. Things like dogs, I think there's a sort of human history where there's a mutually beneficial relationship. Like very
It is
clearly
the relationship
symbiotic.
between humans and dogs is a symbiotic.
Like we feed them, they want to be around us. So it's like if you could have a pet dog and let it go, and it'll stay around you and want to be there and be your guard dog for your house. And
a lot of slaves will too.
Well, sure. So yeah, maybe
You
you're
know
right.
that?
Yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
fact right now?
Yeah, where else is a slave gonna go? This is that's why most slaves didn't run away.
I think it's a better argument if you use cats, because cats are far more wild and less.
I said pet, so I didn't say dog. So
Yeah, so I mean, I think I guess I'm using an example of a dog. As a dog is maybe a more acceptable, less akin to slavery type animal to have as a pet, whereas
Cats are very
because
symbiotic.
historically we keep dogs and cats as pets.
Yeah.
Kind of like how historically we use cattle and chickens for food.
Chicken and cow?
And I'm not saying that that's even right either.
Well, I know you don't think that, having us keep chickens and cattle as food, but that's historically what we've done.
Did you guys ever see that South Park where
No.
the reason why Japanese people slaughter dolphins and whales so much is because they think they bombed Pearl Harbor? But then they switched the picture around that was the evidence to a chicken and a cow bombing Pearl Harbor, so now they kill chickens and cows like the rest of the world. That was South Park, not me.
South Park. Right. But hey, anything else anyone wants to add? I think this has just been kind of a good, philosophical
If
discussion.
Pumpkin told you to stop eating meat, would you stop?
If Pumpkin told me to stop eating meat, it would certainly scare me, and I would probably stop bringing Slim Jims into the studio. But no.
You wouldn't eat meat within the eye shot of Pumpkin.
Right, yeah, I don't want Pumpkin to see me eating meat.
You can take those ones out, Adam.
When he told me not to, but I mean, it would definitely. And I'd leave the White Castle drive-thru, and I'd be looking over my shoulder, but because Pumpkin scares the crap out of me. But no, I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't stop.
Hey, that's.
Well, you do you, right?
He's looking right at you right now.
Yeah, I know. Respect, Pumpkin. It's safe.
Don't be saying you'll be eating pumpkin pie.
Does
right
anyone
now.
else want to add to the topic of vegetarianism and veganism? Ed, would you like to? You don't have to, but would you like to take a minute or two and talk about why you prefer veganism over vegetarianism?
Because I guess just a real quick, because the dairy industry is just as bad as the meat industry. I mean, essentially cows they take the baby calf away and they hook a milk machine up to it and continuously milk it as long as possible. The milk doesn't go to the calf in which it was intended. It sits in this small stall and milks, and then it gives birth again, and then instead of living its natural 20 to 30 year life, it dies in 5 years, basically.
So in essence, it would be like a good comparison would be like what Disney's doing to the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, rape and torture.
Hey, there we go. Here.
I think you're going to get us all on board with that one.
And I mean, and on top of that, milk of any species was intended to grow the young of that species. It wasn't intended for other species to come by and take it. And
I agree with you. Humans
are
the only mammal that eats milk after infancy.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't drink milk.
I'm trying to move away from milk myself. I think I like soy milk is really good. I like soy milk.
Almond's the way to go.
No. Yeah, you're right. It is almond. Vanilla almond milk. I love.
And I will say,
very good.
Almond milk. I actually drank almond milk before even becoming vegetarian. Part of the reason I did it is we would.
Gag.
Yeah.
We would get milk occasionally. We didn't drink a lot of it, and a lot of times it would. First off, the gallon milk is always it's 20 cents more than the half gallon, and you're not going to use it. But you're like, it's only 20 cents more, so you buy it, and then, a couple weeks later you're
pour it out.
Yeah, you're pouring it down the drain. So, at Costco they sell the almond milk things in the quarts or whatever, a 6-pack of it, and because it's sealed, vacuum sealed, basically it lasts longer. So I can buy one of those. They're good for 10 days or whatever once you open them. So the little thing of almond milk always gets used. So ends up being a lot cheaper.
Yeah, we get the organic almond, and for some reason it lasts for a really long time.
Yeah,
the expiration date is. Yeah, but you're right. It is almond milk that I prefer. I don't like soy milk.
Yeah, I actually preferred that over regular milk before I even became vegetarian.
I confess, I don't drink milk because I don't like it. That's
yeah.
I
figured it was tasty.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No.
And I do buy the gallon because I have 4 kids and it does get drank.
Josh, I'm not gonna go out and drink a glass of almond milk by itself.
No.
I'm talking about like in my cereal.
Okay.
I actually, yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I love it in cereal.
Not
I love it in
often,
cereal.
but it's use it in cereal if you're eating like it pairs well with chocolate. I don't know, 'cause it's chocolate and milk.
My older kids don't drink as much milk now, so I typically buy the half gallon. But when I had like 4 kids, I bought the gallon and it got drank. So,
Dude,
but because I was always
between-
saying,
so
it's like,
I'm-
it's not, it's a
I'm
better
one of-
deal,
I'm
but
one
not
of
if you
3
throw it
kids.
out.
We used to go through 3 gallons of milk a week at my house growing up.
Growing boys.
Yeah.
Like that. Hey, my brother-in-law, Artifact, who used to be on these shows with us, he still drinks milk like that. He just loves milk. Just still to this day, he's 38 years old, drinks a glass of milk with every meal.
Ugh.
So some people do. I'm not. No thanks. I'm tight on that.
Know what we call those people, Josh? Weird.
8-year-olds.
Yeah. But
Alright, you ready?
hey, yeah, I think that covers. Unless somebody else wants to throw something in.
No,
let's
let's move on.
Let's wrap it up. And I just don't want to cut anybody off.
We've been on for
Hour and a
almost
half.
an hour. Yeah, more than that.
Ed is
so.
reaching into Pumpkin as we speak. He has pulled out the folded piece of paper. He is handing it to Adam, who will soon unfold it and read to us our next Deep Issues topic, which our next Deep Issue show will be when, Ed? You're good at that stuff.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's all right. You a lot of times just rattle it off.
January 29th.
January 29th. Oh, okay, 2 this month.
Oh, that's
Cool.
right. It's a 5. Yeah.
Okay, so on January 29th will be our next episode of Deep Issues, and the topic will be, Adam.
Veganism Part 2.
It is William Cooper.
Ooh, okay,
Oh,
cool,
nice.
very cool. Ed, you'll be talking a lot on that one too. You definitely know a lot. Okay, very cool. I'm excited about that one. William Cooper is basically kind of like the father of many of the conspiracy theories or ideas that.
True American hero.
Yeah, he is a true American hero in my eyes. So that
I'm gonna
is
sound like a square. I have no idea who that is.
Oh!
dude. like all the classic conspiracy theories, especially the ones that
You can't say you have compassion for humans after saying that.
Yeah, especially the conspiracy theories that have been proven to have some validity. William Cooper was talking about him in the 90s before we heard about him, in the late 80s and early 90s.
Oh, you know what? Now that I pulled up the Wikipedia page,
Behold the
got
Pale
it.
Horse.
Okay,
Yes.
yep.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of him, and that's about it.
He wrote the book Behold the Pale Horse, hosted Hour of the Time for many years, and predicted 9/11, and then was killed in his driveway by federal agents for tax evasion. Coincidence? Find out on January 29th. One more thing real quick, guys. Next week, it will hopefully be this next Tuesday on the Xcast, but it might be 2 weeks depending on how long it takes me to get back from out west. We're going to have an update on one of our previous Deep Issues shows. I am actually having a quite long layover in the Denver International Airport coming up this Thursday. We did a show on it. One of my favorite topics for Deep Issues was the Denver International Airport and all the craziness that surrounds it. But I'm going there. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to take some pictures, get some firsthand stuff, and we'll take a couple minutes and talk about it next week.
We'll see if you'll actually be able to get pictures.
Right. That, and I mean, there's a very good. I have no idea what I'm going to find. I might be like, it's not that big a deal.
Are you gonna be freaked out if the president and if Trump and Queen of England and all of them are there at the same time?
Well, if they are, I'm staying. I will not. I'm only there because I have a layover in Denver, but it is a decently long one, so I really will be in the airport the whole time. I'm not going to Denver for any reason.
Are you gonna ask any questions to any of the airport workers there?
Dude, they're just gonna roll their eyes at you and just tell you to.
They claim that they now, when you ask them questions, they're all like they make light of it. That that they're all like into it now, and they even like hand out pamphlets and stuff like, all the weird stuff at the DIA, so they kind of make light of it now. But either way, we'll I'm gonna have like 2 hours there.
Ask them if they've ever been in the buried buildings.
Maybe I will.
I'll try to see if there's any of the backwards fencing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They try to keep
No, I
people
will.
in
I'm
instead of
gonna,
out.
I'm gonna look around. I'm gonna try to find some stuff, and maybe I'll have something to report at the next show, which will hopefully be a week from tonight. But like I said, I'm flying out to California and I'm driving back. So so I think I will be back for next Tuesday's show, but it'll be close. I honestly don't know until I get on the road and see how long it takes me. So that's it for tonight for Deep Issues number 29. Looking forward to seeing you at the XCast next week.
Hey, Dorf. In order to get the music going, I've gotta let you go. Or I've gotta mute you.
All right, thanks, Dorf. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
and appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. We'll see you next week on the XCast, and we'll see you on January 29th for our next episode of Deep Issues, where the topic will be Milton William Cooper. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate you.